Hi, everyone. Welcome to the final class of social school. I am so excited about this class. So how to grow your audience beyond your circle of influence is something that we've saved for last because we want to leave you on a high note and kind of circling back. You'll see that we circle back to the very beginning. And we ask you to go back and revisit those mind maps and things that you did in your very first class. So I think this is a really great way to tie everything up in a big, pretty bow. So let's get started. All right. Angeline, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to pull this up really quick. All right. So how to grow your audience beyond your circle of influence. If you are struggling right now and you've kind of plateaued, or you've ever said to yourself or anyone else that, I don't have many followers, this class is a very, very actionable step towards growing your audience. You're going to leave here knowing exactly what you can do tonight or today or whatever time you're watching this to grow your audience tomorrow. So the concepts that we're going to cover in today's class are basically, we're going to talk about the 4 repeating chapters of every business sales cycle. We're going to do a visibility deep dive. We're going to revisit the buckets and the mind maps that you learned way back in your past. You'll have to pull that out of your brain. We're going to talk about tagging other accounts and some post ideas with tagging other accounts. So first, let's talk about the 4 chapters in every business sales cycle. The first one is visibility. The second one is engagement. The third one is leads. And the fourth one is sales.
One thing that is interesting about a sales cycle. So some of you may have clear cycles, events, launches, things in your calendar that this makes sense for. Maybe you launched, like with us, let me use us as an example. We run social school at the beginning of every quarter. So we're in a promotion phase in like December for a January start, March for an April start. So we have a little bit of a cycle, right? That month leading up to the new start of a launch, we're kind of in that engagement, leads, and sales cycle for that chapter. The rest of the months, we're like a visibility chapter for this one initiative. So it's really important for you to have a marketing calendar, which is something we kind of talk about a lot in our social club, but a marketing calendar that helps you be intentional about what your post content is like. So maybe you don't necessarily have a launch or a course or a class or something you're promoting all the time, but I bet you will at some point. So this is good for you to know for those things. But even if not, it's good to think about the funnels and your goals, right? Because no matter what, your post content should kind of fall into this funnel cycle, if you will, of most of your posts all the time are going to be visible, things that, if you will, capture new audiences. And then in your engagement and leads, that kind of that middle section of your funnel, you're conversing with the audience just got there. They're like, who is she? What is she about? So now you're kind of conversing with them. You're building that relationship. And then that sales part of your funnel is smaller because you don't want to be super salesy in your content that you're putting out daily. But that's when you're going to convert. So we're really going to focus more on that top level in this class, visible, and the ways to capture new people. But we will talk about the engagement, leads, and sales in social club. There's a lot more training to talk about on that, but we are just kind of focusing on that top level of the funnel for this class.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. What she's saying is to realize that we talk about niching down on your content, on what, niching down on what you're saying, an inch wide, mile deep, but also niching down on the result that you want, the goals of your content. Sometimes it's okay to just have the goal of getting more visible online. Sometimes
100%.
is just, I want to get people to engage with me. Sometimes I just want to get a couple of leads. But then, sometimes is I want to fill up my wallet with money and convert and make some sales. But you don't have to be selling all the time. You can just be out there sharing information and getting visible. So these are, you can call them a cycle, a phase, a season, a chapter. They repeat. And sometimes, depending on how many products you have and whatever, you can be in various stages or chapters at any given time. But visibility, you can just spend a whole week being visible online. You can totally do that.
And you're not necessarily going to have like 1 month where you're only visible and 1 month where you're only engagement. There'll be layered in, right? You'll have different things you're working on, different initiatives or campaigns that you're trying to share. So you may have, visibility is going to be, it's like half your posts, but the rest are going to go down in a cycle. And you've got to have a mix of all of them. Like, it's weird to just have a bunch here, then never bundle them down. People want to get to know you. They want to go deeper with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's enough about
that. Yeah. All right. We could go on and on for days on that because it's so,
I know.
it's so simple. But visibility is basically, okay. So what I did here was I copied the actual definitions from the dictionary and I put them in terms of being visible from a marketing standpoint. So the state of being able to be seen or see, the distance one can be seen as determined by content delivery. And let me explain that. So the better your content and the better you are at delivering it in a way that the right audience will see it, the more visible you are. So the distance one can be seen determined by content and delivery, the degree to which your accounts attract attention and prominence. So visibility is just super, super important. And the way that I like to increase my visibility is through stories, through obviously posts, reels, but by using the @ symbol to tag other accounts, checking in to different locations if I can and if it makes sense. And of course, using hashtags that help me be found by the audiences that are looking for my content. Really quickly, we're going to go through this 2, 3, and 4. But don't be overwhelmed by like any of this because like Angeline says, we are going to do deep dives and more classes on these 3 parts of the sales cycle later on in Social Club. So engagement just means interaction and encounters. And the more interaction and encounters that you have with your content amplifies your reach. It's like that wind thing on the fireplace fire, right? It just makes it get bigger. And I was telling Angeline before this, not really sure if this really is going to land, but like an arrow, the further you pull the arrow back, the further it goes. Well, engagement is to reach what your prep does prior to releasing the arrow. So the more engagement your post gets, the further it will go online.
And there's 2 reasons for that, really, because the more engagement your posts get, the more Instagram feeds it into the algorithm more. So it's going to get shown more when it has higher engagement. It also just kind of keeps putting it back in there. And also it helps you build a relationship with the people that are following you because now it feels like a conversation when they're engaging and you're responding. So there's a couple reasons of why that works so well.
Yep. So true. Leads. It's the 3rd chapter of the business sales cycle. And basically that's when you're soliciting your followers to raise their hand online in some way. I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos and I'm always learning. And there is a very interesting way to generate leads through using a poll in stories. And basically your poll, each option on your poll can be different pain points. And your question can be, which one bothers you the most? And so if they say, okay, for instance, like let's say we sell this widget and it's $600 or whatever it is, right? It's this little shiny object. And we poll the audience on what's keeping you from buying my widget. Costs too much, it's too breakable, or whatever it is. Then we can simply address whatever pain point they've chosen in the poll through direct messaging, because they've raised their hand and said, hey, that's just too expensive, that's too rich for my blood. Well, I can send them a message and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you said that, because we actually have a 50% off coupon right now. Here you go. And then you can address their specific pain point. So leads is about soliciting people in a non-smarmy way to raise their hand online and say something and interact with you about a specific product that you're launching. And then the last one is sales, obviously. They're promotional in nature, and they are meant to convert to dollars. And you make your sales through direct messaging, story, quiz, stickers, reels, captions, calls to action, all that. But again, all three of those have their own little house on our website, and they will have their own big class. So we'll get into those at a different time. Let's go back to the one that started it all, and that's chapter 1, visibility. If you don't have visibility, you can't have the other three. So it's the most important one, in my opinion. It's also the one that is the biggest. Like you were saying, you can't be selling all the
most volume.
Yeah. Yes, it has the biggest volume and takes up the most space on your account. I'm going to try not to confuse you guys with this. It makes sense in my head, but hopefully it'll land with you guys. There is also a difference between visibility and presence. Presence is all the accounts that you're showing up on. You can show up on one account and be visible. You can show up on 40 different kinds of platforms and not be really visible. And let me talk to you about that. Visibility means that you're intentionally targeting other accounts and audiences that are parallel or that would like what it is that you do or sell. So visibility is the key word here, is being intentional about tagging and collaborating with other accounts that have audiences that would pick up what you lay down online. Presence is about your prominence online, repeating yourself, saying it more, repackaging this content and putting it on YouTube and putting it over on Instagram and having it on Facebook and sending it out in an email. Presence is different than visibility. And I just copied this. This is one of our Trello boards. You can repackage the same message 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ways. Okay. Actually, you could, there's 4 million different ways.
There's probably even more. Yeah.
There's definitely more. There's at least 47 million other ways. But you have your content ideas and you can repackage that same message for all these. That's being present. Visibility is different than that. Visibility is about tagging other accounts and looping them into your content so that that content then gets shared out, and then you grow your audience beyond your circle of influence. Now you're locking arms with their circle of influence. So the top 4 ways to become more visible, and again, there's probably 47 million other ways to do this too, but the top 4 that I found in all of my shenanigans online before this class is tagging other accounts, collaborating with other accounts, running contests, and I would have the caveat with other accounts, and doing challenges online. Those all are really good ways to become visible. But for today, we are going to discuss the easiest one, the simplest one, is tagging other people. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, Angela, but when Angela and I were talking about this, she said that she doesn't tag a lot of other accounts. And it kind of made me think, you know, now that she says that, I haven't been doing this a lot either. And so practicing what I
it's
say.
a good reminder for us, right? Like we need to do more too.
Don't rush over to my this moment and say, wow, you know, she's not practicing what I preach, but I am, I promise, gonna do better. So we can all do better and we all need reminders, but tagging other accounts is super, super important. Because again, you are locking arms with their circle of influence and hoping that they reciprocate that tag. You're talking about them. And so you want them to be like, oh, share. And the best way to do that is through Instagram stories. You can obviously tag people in your posts and your reels as well. But I have found in my experience that stories get shared the most because they're the least invasive to their account. Sharing a post to their feed, they might be the bigger accounts might be a little more adverse to doing that. But sharing a story is very, very easy to do. And they know it's going to go away after 24 hours.
And I will say this. I mean, obviously, the really fun way to grow really fast is to get some amazing reel that all of a sudden goes viral and you get 20,000 likes on it. But you don't know when that's going to happen. It's always about testing and trying and doing new things. So that's not really so much strategy. It's more of a hope. Yeah. And if the better you get content, the more you might find that. But this is something, tagging other accounts, and what Brooklyn's going to talk about. This is actionable. This is something you can control and start doing right away, for instant visibility, right? So instant, and I love what you're saying too about sharing it on stories. Now, one thing that I haven't used a ton of, but I have a couple of times, is if you are sharing a post or reel, not if you're tagging someone, you can also, because if you tag someone on a post, they can still only share it to their stories. But if you use that little button on there that says add collaborator, then they can actually re-share that post, or not even share, they can use that same post on their feed. It is a little bit different. I'm with you 100%. Use the stories and tag them because that's quick and easy, and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck there. But I just wanted to explain that that's like the technical way with an Instagram right now, where you can collaborate. On Facebook, you can just tag them. You know, it's not going to matter. But
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, and that is true because, I mean, just you talking about that, just thinking about this, you can't share you can only share a post that you've been tagged in to your story. You can no longer share it to your account. You used to be able to repost, right?
You can now, if they use, instead of tagging, if they select add collaborator, but I never even think to do that when I'm sharing something. So, but that's how they have to create it with add you as a collaborator for you to be able to post a post, you know, on your feed. So that's how, yeah.
And I mean, it's not until you start talking about this that you realize how many times things have changed. So,
oh yeah, it might change again, and we'll have to re-record.
Don't hold us to this because you might be watching it tomorrow, or you know, it's all over. Content buckets, personal and business. If you could just like dig in your brain really quick, go back to that very, very first video that you watched about content buckets and mind maps. And whether you're a business brand or a personal brand, your buckets are a little bit different. Personal brands have a personal bucket, a passion bucket, and a work bucket. Business brands have a people bucket, a value bucket, and a work bucket. And so whatever your buckets are, you were asked at the end of that class to create mind maps in order to generate unlimited ideas of what to post. What I want you to do now is look at those mind maps through a different lens. I want you to look at that mind map from your people bucket, your personal bucket, and make a list of the associated Instagram accounts with every single bubble on there. Like, you know, where you were when that story, you know, that you're talking about in that bubble, who were you with, what were you wearing, who did your hair, you know, just whatever makes sense. And right now this is more of a brain dump, so don't X anyone off the list, unless, you know, obviously they need to be, but you want to make a list looking at that mind map. You looked at it, you were generating content ideas. Now I want you to look at that content and generate Instagram accounts that you can tag. That makes sense. And I'll give you an example. My friend Scott Hoffner at Dee Dee's downtown, where it all goes down, it's a restaurant. My friend and I were trying to teach him, you know, how to grow his visibility. And we told him he needed to start tagging people. Well, for the next 6 months, I got tagged in every single post he ever made. Every post he made, whether it was his meatloaf, the specials, the band that was playing, a family sitting down, Brooklyn's Bungalow or Brooklyn Calloway, whichever, I think both, got tagged in that account. So don't do that. It's not about just randomly tagging people over and over again. That's one surefire way to not get visible and get like noped out of your content and be like, I'm not following him anymore. But anyways, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious and I let him do it and it didn't bother me at all. But don't do that. Tag people that make sense and that go with what you're talking about. Angelin and her daughter just did a post yesterday and got your hair done, and you tagged
to salon and my stylist, and of course Morgan and I. So, you know, that's who made sense in that post of tagging, right? And so that way they, you know, they can share and it's fun, and it gets everybody a little bit of extra love.
Yeah,
gets you in front of some other people. Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so the next excuse me. The next one, your value and passion bucket. Obviously, look at that mind map and make a list of all the associated Instagram accounts for that as well. You want to look at your work bucket, same thing, different mind map, and make lists and really think about each bubble and the story that you want to tell online, and think about all those different accounts and make a list. For instance, now this could have come from any one of your mind maps, but today I want to shout out customer blank who just received, and then whatever it was that you were offering today. That is a very good way to loop them in a sentence that makes sense, talking about a product from your work bucket. It makes sense. My two favorite trainings I ever took for social media marketing were by Jen Lehner and Amy Porterfield, right? Those are two big ones. Actually, Jen Lehner, Amy Porterfield is Jen Lehner's, you know, mentor or whatever. But that would allow me to tag both of them in my talking about my niche, and it makes sense and it's not weird, and that's from my work bucket.
I think also too, think small. You know, I love the big brand idea, because you never know when you might get shared, and that could be, again, kind of like going viral. But also think about like, oh, okay, this morning at Master Networks, you know, I learned about this from so and so. I guarantee you that person is going to be resharing your story idea. Great example. We just had one this past week from one of our realtors who's taken social school for realtors, Corey Jones. He made this awesome post, a reel about, he calls himself the King of Aubrey. You'll have to go follow him. But he said, shout out, he tagged us in his reels because he learned how to do it in our social school class. And so when he tagged us, I shared it on our story and said, we love seeing our students get better at reels and share awesome content. Like, it's a happy day for us too. So he got exposed to our audience immediately, which was very cool. So think big brand, but also think small and local, or you're probably going to get instant gratification on that.
Yep, 100%. And one thing that also makes me think of is I attended a conference last summer, and I went to a podcast class, and they were talking about people to invite onto your podcast. And one of the biggest tips that I took away from that class was don't just think of the big brands and the big to-do accounts to invite onto your podcast. They aren't the ones that need the exposure. They're not the ones that need the visibility. The smaller people are the ones that are going to share the crud out of that podcast that they were just on because they need it. And so you actually get more traction out of the smaller accounts. That's
always.
Yeah. As a company, we support several causes. And again, this is a business brand. As a company, we support several causes, including blank, blank, and blank.
But you could also share that as a personal post. Like, there's one cause that is dear to my heart is the SPCA, because da da da. So now you're tagging the SPCA, you're talking about your love of pets, you're talking about how it aligns with you, whatever. But again, maybe you even have a couple other friends who also love the SPCA, you could tag them too.
Right.
So that's how you could use something like that.
Yeah. And to go back on what you were just saying, SPCA is kind of big, but the Multi-Poos of America or the Multi-Poo Rescue of Salina, Texas, or I don't even know if there is. She's got a little dog down there named Bailey, and I'm sure she's just itching to like get up in her mommy's lap or something. But the smaller the account, the better. So you don't always have to do the big ones. You can support others. So for years I've shopped at, and this is, Angelin actually picked this one. I really like this one too. For years I've shopped at blank because they share the same values as me, including, and that's a way for you to talk about your brand values, your values personally, and reveal where you shop and loop them in. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I think that, you might not want to put Nordstrom there. You might want to put like Bittersweet Ivy, the little boutique on the corner, right?
Right.
So tagging is the easiest way to get more visible.
Like, you always go have coffee and work, tag LaFinca, LaFinca coffee shop, and talk about why you always love working there, because it's a great place to meet people. They have great coffee. They always have good Wi-Fi. Guess what? They're going to for sure they're going to share that, because for them, that's user generated content. It's social proof. So when you provide that for other people, that's giving them visibility, and they're likely going to share that. And then who knows, you may get some followers from that as well.
Yep, 100%. And again, like I did, like we said on the mind maps, in order to think deeper, keep asking yourself the who, the what, the where, the why, the how. And one example is I'm surrounded by my lights right now. I'm on a MacBook Pro. Whatever the tools are that I use to work, I can tag them if it's relevant to the post that I'm talking about, like talking about making a reel. And I have this special little stand that I use if I'm hands-free. That makes sense. So ask yourself, what am I using? And I want to go back to the hair salon example. I go get my hair done, and a lot of times I tag the icon products that Sydney uses because they're very important to her. She uses the same brand. And so I will tag that account when I'm like, my hair swishing around, because maybe that brand will also, share my stuff. So just thinking a little bit deeper, you can dig deeper into the context of what's going on in the content that you're posting. And this will really help you increase your bank of accounts to tag. So again, you created a bank of content for you to post. I want you to have a bank of accounts that you could tag as well. Doesn't mean that you're going to tag them every time, but it's going to be top of mind and it's going to remind you to do it. And you're going to have this list, whether it's on a notebook or a spreadsheet or on post-it notes on your wall in front of you. And you're going to be able to, oh yeah, I could tag that person. Oh, I forgot. Or just seeing a bunch of people to tag is going to make you think, oh, maybe I should tag some people. It's going to keep it top of mind. And this exercise will blow your mind when you start thinking about all the missed opportunities from the past, which you can always go back and tag them, but I don't really recommend. I just want you to start as you wish to proceed. Get visible from this day forward so that you can go into those other 3 chapters of the business sales cycle with gusto and get some traction this time. If you're not experiencing that, it's probably because you're missing out on this one key element.
I will add to that too. Definitely use this in your the personal bucket as well. Let's say if Brooklyn's going to a birthday party tonight. So when she's there, she should definitely share a photo of her and her friends, and she should tag everyone. How many times do you go out to soccer moms at the side, the soccer field, but you don't know their account, you just miss them? Well, be sure and turn them and say, hey, what's your Instagram account? Are we friends on Facebook? Like, connect that way. Don't ask them for their phone number, ask them for their handles so that you can tag them, because on Facebook you show up immediately in their feed unless they have their settings turned off, but most likely it's going to show up right away and on their feed. And then in Instagram they can tag you and you can tag them, and then they can share on their face. So don't discount even those personal interactions as opportunity. I also wanted to share the idea of, like, if you are a realtor or a mortgage person or something where you're working with a client over a series of steps in the process, you're showing them a home, you're helping them make some decisions, you're out picking out some, I don't know, whatever it is. Then finally at the closing, you're delivering their thank you gift at the end. All the steps that have interactions. Well, share those really fun things in a really unique, because you don't want to get really boring and stale, but tag them every time. Though that shows, again, client social proof. That's also working to your advantage to show that you have clients and that you're doing things with them, but it also tags them and gives them a chance to refer you and share your name as well.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of reminded me to mention this. We're focusing in on Instagram because as of right now, knocking on that wood, you can tag business accounts or personal accounts from either account. On your business page on Facebook, you can't tag a person. So I can't go.
True. It have to be your personal page. Yeah.
And tag one of my clients, but I can from our Instagram business account. So this tagging in this plethora of visibility, it really works the best on Instagram. So, yeah. Okay. So tagging encourages shares, whether it's a big account or a small account. We've kind of covered that tagging tends to happen more so in the smaller accounts that you loop into your content. But hey, I have been shared by Target before, and I was really
nice.
Chevy Chase shared something of mine once, and I was really excited. Nice. But I remember the 2 times, and I've got 5,500 posts. So it doesn't happen often, but when it does, you're like, oh yeah, that is my birthday. So,
but like a perfect example is we share on Next Chapter Social, we tag our personal brands all the time. And we're sharing our business brands to our personal all the time. And so
All the
again,
time.
that helps us gain. Yeah.
Yes, no shame in my game whatsoever. And I'm taking my personal account, logging in. I'm going to like my own stuff on the other account.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure.
it's a game. You need to play it like a game. You are your own best supporter. So
Fan.
yourself. And tagging others acts as backlinks. So backlinks on a website, like let's say we have a product on our website and we have it linked on Facebook, and then it's somebody else links to it in a blog post, and all those little links are called backlinks, and that increases your search engine optimization. Well, when you tag other accounts and loop and you're being social on social media, wow, imagine that. The algorithm loves you. And so tagging and creating that little hairball acts as backlinks. Kind of, it acts like backlinks do to Google, but it helps you with the algorithm. And so you're more likely to be featured in the explore page, and your reach gets bigger. So that's really important. When you tag other people, it helps to share. It helps they share, and it increases your brand awareness. They don't always share, but when they do, I feel like we need that guy, right? I don't always
Yeah,
share.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do,
I don't
yeah.
always. Yes, yes. I don't always stop at garage sales, but when I do, I had it. I had him on a poster. I stop at this one, and we will stop. So, anyways, so I wonder if anybody took pictures and shared that, because I did not have my account on there. But anyways, it's brand awareness. And obviously, related accounts share similar audiences. So when you are looping the people that are naturally involved with the content that you're posting, they are a related account. It's related in some way. And their audience will probably be something similar to what you are looking for your audience.
I want to say too that one thing that's really important to not miss about this, it's not just about you tagging other accounts, but asking your followers to tag you.
Yes.
So,
oh, good. Yes.
Let me give you an example. Like Savannah Dunn, one of our clients that we helped with her, she was working on a big event. She did a Santa, like a Santa event, a photo Santa opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so she had invited all her clients to come get their picture taken with Santa and their families and all of that. And so we helped her talk about creating a QR code and have some little handouts, and on signs and everywhere, it's posted everywhere. Make sure you take your picture, scan my account, and tag me on your pictures when you share your posts. So asking people to tag you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is asking. So everywhere you are, I mean, when I go set up at a jewelry, like if at a holiday event with a jewelry brand, I have these little handouts that have my account on there, and I say, when you get your jewelry, make sure you take a selfie and tag me. So now they're following me, mm-hmm. but they're also going to tag me. So you're asking for that as well. Make sure that's a part of your strategy.
Yes, 100%. Really glad that we threw that in there to the class, because that is so important. Not only are you others, but please, for the love of God, make sure that you're asking them to tag you as well. And this is super important. Each account that you tag in a story should be an account that your ideal customer should follow. Now, I'm rereading this right now, and I'm getting myself a little bit confused, and I'm sorry for that. But I don't mean that if I tag my sister, for instance, I don't mean that you have to go tag or you have to go follow them. My ideal customer should not necessarily want to go follow my sister, Brittany. But what I meant by this is that my ideal customer is probably a part of the person I've tagged's audience. So I have my audience. Maybe Brittany has, her followers. And when I tag her, her audience is probably going to be my ideal audience as well, because Brittany and I are very similar. We share a lot of the same values. If I'm talking about, my passion is I'm a picker. I love to go find, vintage little things, rusty little globes or whatever. Tagging that antique mall, their audience is very similar to the audience that I attract. So that's what I meant by that. And finally, we have created 50 visibility post prompts for you. Angelin is going to have those sent out via the internet. And they're probably going to look a little cuter than what I put right here. But, and this is 100, and I'm sorry, it's 50. I did not mean to leave that on there, but 50 visibility prompts for you to use so that you can read through those. And when you're looking at your mind maps, you can really dig deep on, who to tag, what to tag, the companies to tag, the places to tag, all those products, places, and people that you can think of in your content that you came up with in the buckets class. But at the end of the day, we just want you to know that tagging other accounts is the easiest way to boost your visibility beyond your circle of influence. Your current clients are great, but it's also very important to growing your business and going through those other 3 parts of the sales cycle, that you're constantly being visible and looping in other accounts and doing those collaborations and asking other people to tag you as well.
Awesome.
Yep. All right.
I hope this inspires.
Have a great time tagging other people and coming up with your
and be sure to tag us.
Yes.
We'll share your
Please,
of course, be sure to share Next Chapter Social.
Next Chapter Social, right. All right, well, we'll see you again soon. Bye.